Well, welcome to the 11th Annual Junior Iron Chef Competition here at Loyalist College. My name is Steve Bolton, and with me is Tyler Hunt from the Culinary Management Program here at Loyalist College, and Jim Whiteway, also of Loyalist College. We'll also be joined by Mike Wabshall, who will be bringing us updates from time to time from the kitchen. And each year, high school students from around the area compete to win a top spot in the top 3 to compete for the title of Junior Iron Chef. Competing this year, we have Loyalist College Vocational Institute from Kingston, our perennial entrance, Prince Edward Collegiate Institute from Picton, and first time, Ernestown Secondary School from Odessa. These teams are coached by some well-trained individuals with a great deal of knowledge in the culinary field. Our judges today will be Chef John Schneeberger. He's at Loyalist College in the Culinary Management and Culinary Skills Program Coordinator. Chef Jay McCall, a Loyalist Culinary Management graduate and executive chef at East Main Bistro in Picton, and Chef Christopher Enu, executive chef of St. Anne's Spa in Grafton. We're also joined with Stephanie Clark, who is a second-year student in the Culinary Management program here at Loyalist College. The competition lasts for 2 hours, and each team has to create 3 plated dishes for judging. We're talking appetizer, entree, and dessert. It's going to be an intense 2 hours, so we can already see the teams getting prepped and ready to go. So stay with us, and we'll take you through the competition as the 11th Annual Junior Iron Chef kicks off at Loyalist College. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Good. And Tyler Hunt is with us, and Tyler, of course, he's your second year culinary management. Yes, could you describe what LCVI's menu is for the competition?
Yes, they have 3 courses to do. So their appetizer today is a stuffed ravioli with a turnip veloute. And for their main, they have pork tenderloin with risotto and chard. And if you guys didn't know Swiss chard, it's a leafy green. And anyone who's interested in having a healthy diet, it's a great leafy vegetable. It's got lots of nutrients, so add that into your diet.
Is always good.
Yes. And for the dessert, they have a chocolate lava cake.
Okay, so we're watching some rice being prepared here, and we just cut over to some shallots being carved away here. I think that's LCVI there doing new stuff. I'd like to just go over through the rules, for example, while we're watching LCVI do their thing. 2 hours for each team to complete the 3 courses required. It must be an entree, a dessert, and an appetizer, and they must be completed in the order of course, appetizer first, entree, and then dessert. Pre-prepared items are not permitted, for example, spice mixes, or sauces, or dressing, and so forth. Appetizer courses must include protein. Salads and soups are not permitted. So the rules are pretty rigid here about exactly what the Junior Iron Chef teams are expected to prepare. 6 ounces of a chosen protein, a vegetable and starch. And each course should be of an appropriate size. So, Tyler, I'm going to ask you this question. What's considered an appropriate size?
For appetizer, it's about 6 ounces, and for an entree, it's about 8.
Excellent. They have to make sure the plates are the appropriate temperature for each course. The menus have to be submitted prior to the competition, logically enough. And there's a cost in this, too. And what's the total food cost?
It cannot exceed $60.
Okay, so there's a limit to how much the food cost can be. And, of course, that's part of the whole competition, to keep the cost in range,
right,
so it's affordable.
Right.
Okay, understood. The teams are allowed to consult with their chef before competing for preparation and menu planning. However, communication during the competition with non-competitors may be grounds for disqualification. So they're very serious about this. Jim, can you tell us a little bit about the equipment that they're using?
Well, each team's given 6 burners and an oven. The kitchen is divided up into 3 different stations, and they each get a portion of refrigerated space. They can use the grill, the deep fryer, and the salamander. We do have some equipment there that is actually off limits, and that's our Rationale combi ovens. We find that a lot of the high schools, or many of the high schools, aren't familiar with that equipment, and this is not the day to learn how to use a new cooking tool. We've got small mixers and food processors, and the teams can bring in their own appliances, but everything had to be pre-approved by the chef. So there's no equipment in the kitchen that anyone is not familiar with.
Tyler, can you describe what a salamander is? I thought it was like a little tiny animal. It's really cute in Florida.
Well, it is, but in the kitchen, what a salamander is, it's almost like a broiler you have in an oven at home, but it's discs, they're heated up to scorching hot temperatures, and it's used to brown the tops of food to give it some extra color.
Gotcha. I have in front of me here the judging criteria, which is, of course, critical to this whole competition. And I wonder, Jim, if you could go over the judging criteria for me.
Well, I think one of the things that's important to note before we look at the specifics and then the judging is over the years, this has become, the bar is being raised more and more every year. So one of the toughest parts is putting together a rubric that will fairly assess the students. And that rubric grows every year as the students bring in more and more complexity in their dishes. First, we look at planning and recipe knowledge, ingredient knowledge, time management. The courses have to go together. There has to be a logical flow. We look at the final, the judges will look at the final product in terms of presentation and temperature. They'll obviously be considering taste, which is, you know, we get to sit here and watch the judges and wish we were on that table and not this. And then each of the 3 courses are broken down, looking again at recipe knowledge and ingredient knowledge, temperature and taste, and how they fit together. Preparation techniques. You know, this is not just about what ends up on the plate, but the important part about any kind of food preparation is the consideration for food safety. And that's a really important part of this competition. You don't get to see a lot of what goes on in a typical restaurant, but that's a big part of being a professional cook or chef. And so the judges will be really scrutinizing the teams when it comes down to cleanliness and food safe approaches. And of course, professionalism. One of the great benefits of this program is it leaves the textbook learning behind. And students really get to learn what it's like to be in a real kitchen and some actual pressures that you don't necessarily feel in a real kitchen, and that being coming from the competition level. But maintaining professionalism and teamwork, that will go a long way, not only to the end product, but to how the team gels together and timing and making sure that everything's ready at just the right time and so that everything turns out the way the judges are hoping.
You know, it's critical that we remember that these are high school students. Some of them are 14, 15, 16 years of age. So there's an incredible amount of talent in our kitchen here at that age. And so for them to start doing it now is really a real stroke of genius, for lack of a better word here.
Well, my hat goes off to the high schools that are involved, and there's a number of high schools that are involved all the time. But seeing them at this age and watching them grow, we look forward to the future.
Oh, that's great. It's just wonderful. Now, very shortly, PECI will be starting up, and PECI has their menu for the Iron Chef. I'm going to turn over to Tyler to just run down their menu.
Okay, for their appetizer, they have a turnip gnocchi with a carrot ginger
A
puree,
little bit of a different
10-year-old
format this time
balsamic.
around. Why is this different this year, starting delayed?
Staggered starts is to help the judges and the competitors. One, so the competitors don't look at each other, how close they're getting to the wire. They're paying attention to what they're doing, and that gives the judges a little bit more time to scrutinize each plate as it comes out, instead of getting all backed up with dishes.
Well, a job like this, does this make it a little bit easier for you guys to judge each teams? Of course, it does make it a little bit realistic, splitting it up like that. But is it easier for the judges per se?
Yeah, we don't rush, and we spend the time doing the deliberation properly.
Great. That's with Chef Christopher. I appreciate it, Chef.
Thank you.
Tyler Hunt, and he is a second-year culinary management student here at Loyalist College, to talk about what PECI is going to be on the menu today. Tyler?
PECI, for their appetizer, they have a turnip gnocchi with a carrot ginger puree, a 10-year-old balsamic vinegar, and frizzled leeks. For their entree, they have a stuffed and poached pork tenderloin, Dijon Spätzle with cider mostarda, cherries, and pistachios. And for the dessert, they have a maple pudding with walnut chiffon cake, roasted butternut squash, and brown butter sabayon.
Tell me about your experience at Loyalist College. Tell me about, why did you choose, Tyler, to take the culinary management course?
Back before first year, to be honest, I had little to no culinary experience whatsoever. It was really my father's cooking that kind of blew my love for food, and I just really wanted to learn more about it. And ever since day one, I've loved every minute of it. In the kitchen, yeah.
Food is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any such thing as bad food, really?
Well,
unless you prepare it poorly, I suppose, but
yeah, but otherwise, no. All food is good.
I would like to talk to Jim Whiteway and ask Jim about the culinary management course here at Loyalist College. And just if you could give us some details on how long is the program, what are some of the expenses involved, what are some of the curriculum that's involved?
Sure, Steve. We have 2 programs that run concurrently here at Loyalist College. One is a 1-year Chef's Technique program, which really covers all of the basic skills involved in level 1 and level 2 of the apprenticeship program. And then in second year, we are offering the management skills that make up the culinary management program. So all the students are together in first year. They're in classes from September until April. And some really interesting learning happens in that first year for new cooks. But what's also a really interesting piece of this program is our second year students get to work with the first years, and they get to develop their supervisory skills while they're here in school. So it's unique to all the culinary programs in Ontario, where we actually have student chefs and acting as line chefs in the kitchen, and that's something that we're really proud of here at Loyalist, is that experience that our graduates are taking out into the workforce.
So they are in charge.
They're in charge.
Yeah.
You know, if a first year has a question, they've got to go to one of those red hats, and the red hats then would be the people that would go to the executive chef if they need a question. But it's run very much like a professional brigade in any larger scale kitchen.
I have here to tell you about some of our judges. One of my favorite people at Loyalist College is Chef John Schneeberger. John is the coordinator of the one-year culinary skills chef training and the two-year culinary management course, and of course the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship programs here at, cook programs here at Loyalist College. Born in Switzerland, which is one of my favorite countries. He has dual citizenship in Canada and Switzerland, and he comes from a family with several executive chefs and a pastry chef. So the DNA is pretty strong in Chef John's background. He's a graduate of the George Brown College, and he's completed both his cook and baker apprenticeships. He has traveled in Europe and Canada, working in numerous restaurants. And Tyler, are you going to Paris this year by any chance?
I am.
I thought so.
Yep.
So what brought this Paris trip all about?
I just thought it'd be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and Paris, French cooking, how could you say no?
How could you say no is right. So when do you leave?
We leave on February 26th.
Oh, that's going to be great. So that's a field trip of a different kind. It sure beats like going to the museum downtown or something like that. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. And of course, French cuisine is just so impeccably good, and the variety is great too. So
Yep.
it's wonderful. And of course, Chef John is one of the chiefs who have organized this field trip for the culinary students. Can you tell me how many you think are going?
I believe at this point we have 22.
That's a plane load.
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about the itinerary that you're going to be undergoing in Paris?
Yeah, we're leaving. We have to be here Sunday on the 26th before 9 p.m. or sorry 9 a.m. for the to be taken on the bus to Montreal, and when we go there on the plane, I actually don't know how long the plane ride is.
5 hours. 6
5
hours.
hours.
6 hours.
I'm very excited because I've never been on a plane before, so it's a new experience there. But I know on the second day we're there, we're going to see the Eiffel Tower, which is just going to be amazing. I haven't looked over the itinerary too much, but I don't even know what to tell you. I'm just so excited.
Parlez-vous français?
I haven't brushed up on my French yet, unfortunately.
You'll have to get the French-English translation dictionary. I think
yeah,
you're going
for
to
sure.
find in Paris that the second language is English anyway, so it's good. Chef John loves Paris. He knows Paris like the back of his hand.
Oh, yeah.
And he was one of the top 10 finalists in TV Ontario's 2008 Best Lecturer competition. And other teachers at this college can learn from John and do learn from John. He's a wonderful man. So we're just a few minutes away from actually Ernestown Secondary School. And Jim, can you tell me a little bit about Ernestown Secondary School? They're kind of a newcomer to this competition.
Well, they are. We're really happy to see a new face at the competition this year. We've had the same faces for many years, and to see someone new is really exciting. Ernestown is just east of Belleville, actually east of Napanee. So in between Napanee and Kingston, a smaller school, but a rural school that takes a lot of pride in its cooking skills. So I did have the chance to have dinner with the folks from Ernestown, and they're really excited to be here. They've done an awful lot of work, just like all the other teams, and they're a contender this year.
Well, they're a welcome newcomer, which is just, it's wonderful to have them there. I noticed there's a lack of Belleville and Trenton schools this year.
Well, it happens, you know. We reach out from Oshawa and points even further west than Oshawa to Kingston. Everyone gets a fair shot at this, and so, you know, it comes down to getting through the rigor of quarterfinals and semifinals, and at the end of the day, there's only room for 3 teams at this competition. So it's not that we don't have some fine culinary programs in this area, it's just this year they just weren't fine enough.
Oh, well. So we just want the sparklers anyway.
That's it.
Very good. Let me tell you a little bit about Chef Jay McCall, who's going to be one of our judges as well. He graduated from the Loyalist College Culinary Management's program. He did a 6-month apprenticeship at Elginson Farm with Michael Stedlander. And he has worked in many of the area's finer restaurants, including Capers Wine Bar and Brasserie, L'Auberge de France, Devonshire Inn. He also helped open Bloom and Garden Bistro and has been working as the executive evening chef at East and Main Bistro in Wellington, one of my favorite restaurants, for the last 2 years. In February, he will be moving to East and Main's sister restaurant in Pomodoro to take on the sous chef position. He occasionally teaches in the continuing education's Touch of Gourmet class here at Loyalist College. And last November, he competed with a team from East and Main in the gold medal plates competition in Ottawa. This is one of Canada's premier cooking competitions to benefit the Canadian Olympic athletes. It'll be his 3rd year to judge the Junior Iron Chef competition. He says he has had a short career, but he has had an extensive career given the fine restaurants that he's worked at. And he also had a station at the 1st annual Canadian Chefs Congress held at Elginstein. Okay, Ernestown is going to be starting very shortly. Could you go through their recipe, or pardon me, their menu, Tyler?
Yes. For their entree, they have bite triangles with an apricot sauce, stuffed pork tenderloin with quinoa and asparagus. And for their dessert, they have raspberry brownies with a chocolate ganache.
Oh, that'll be too bad, won't it?
It is all very delicious.
Okay, for the uninitiated, what's quinoa?
Quinoa, it's a starch, but it's not a rice. I had originally thought it was related to rice, but actually it's from a different plant, and it's just the seeds of it. Yeah, and they can come in all different colors as well.
So you just boil it like you would ordinarily boil rice?
Yep.
So how are they going to serve their quinoa? Is there any particular...
I believe they have a rice or a pilaf going in it, so some peppers and onions.
They would mix it all together. I see that. Okay. Here we see some apple being chopped up very nicely.
I think that apple would be turnip, Steve.
Okay, white turnip. See, this is why I'm just the mouse. I'm not the chef. Can you imagine me in a kitchen? I wouldn't even know what end of the knife to hold, I think, sometimes.
They're hand rolling the pasta dough for the gnocchi.
Now, I noticed that they're rolling bacon. What's the purpose of rolling the bacon like that?
They're probably just trying to get a bit more surface area out of it.
You know, we were talking about food safe and sanitation, and I think it's important to know right now. You can see here's a team that's really practicing those issues. The stations are clean. All of their waste is clean is taken away as soon as it occurs. They're working to clean as you go. A really good method to ensure that everything is clean and sanitized as you're working through the menu.
Well, that's a critical principle in operating a kitchen. It's clean as you go, and I learned that when I was going to Loyalist College. Actually, the colonel put me through here, so it was a wonderful experience. But clean as you go is very important. But good sanitation is critical as well. Tell me about the tools of the trade. What kind of tools are important to you in culinary?
Physical tools?
Physical tools.
Definitely a chef's knife. You can do almost any job in the kitchen with a chef's knife, so it's very important to maintain that, keep it sharp, treat it nicely. It becomes an extension of your hand. Always, good pots and pans. You want to spend more on good quality stuff because it's going to last longer and give you a better product.
What types of pots and pans? What's the material? Is it steel? Aluminum?
Stainless steel is usually good. That's not going to bleed off color into stuff like a bechamel, like a white sauce. It's going to keep that white and not get the it's not going to get the aluminum coming off from an aluminum pot.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to keep the color clean.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would this be spinach we're seeing being carved? Oh,
That would be a good call, Steve.
well, hey, I got the food right first. One thing I know parsley, I know spinach, and I know steak. Those are my 3 main food groups. Tyler, I'd like to ask you about gnocchi, and PECI is going to be on their menu, turnip gnocchi. How does one make gnocchi?
Well,
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
it's gnocchi.
Gnocchi. There we
Yes.
go. See.
And it's much like making a regular pasta dough. It's got a bit more flour in it. It's a bit more tougher, and you do it in a mixer and just get into a dough, and then you cut it up, almost exactly like a pasta, and you can either boil it or pan fry it.
This particular recipe calls for carrot ginger puree with 10-year balsamic frizzled leeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to sound that's going to taste really good. Part of the PECI entree is pork tenderloin and Dijon Spätzle.
Yeah.
Can you describe what a Spätzle is for our audience?
It's actually pronounced Spätzle.
See?
And,
Spätzle.
it's considered an egg noodle. It's very high ratio egg to flour, and it's almost like a gummy paste. And what you do is you get your boiling water, and you can use a colander, or there's actually Spätzle graters, and you pour it on top and take a spoon and rub it through, and it little droplets come out and it boils. And it's very nice, and you can put whatever you want in it, like sun-dried tomatoes or any herbs, and it tastes fantastic.
So it's kind of noodly in a way?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I love that. And then cider okay, you're the expert here, okay? I'm just the mouth, okay? Cider mostarda.
Mostarda.
Mostarda, what is the purpose of this and what does it do?
I believe it is to go with the Spätzle, and the pork, just because, as you know, like meat by itself, it can be kind of dry, so it gives it a little bit of complexity to the dish and a little bit more flavor that's going to complement the pork.
Excellent. You're watching the 11th annual Junior Iron Chef Competition from Loyalist College. We have 3 schools competing. We have Ernestown Secondary School, we have Loyalist Collegiate and Vocational Institute from Kingston, as well as PECI from Picton and the county competing this year. And these 3 high schools, cooking clubs, have got the best of the best going on. So you're watching them prepare their food and prepare their dishes, and they will be judged. And one's got to win. Jim, I'd like to ask you about some of the people who are sponsoring this program and who have donated prizes, because I know we have an extensive exhibition going on at Loyalist College in conjunction with this show.
We have a really extensive list of sponsors, and not only are we, really pleased and thankful to the sponsors that are helping us with the competition, but we also have a food and beverage show happening next door here as well, and there's a number of folks that are involved in that. We've been lucky enough to receive sponsorship from Brighton Deli, Bill Spencer Chev, Bitters and Grapes, Bibbs Meats, Chumley's, Coburg Taekwondo, Dewar's Bakery, Denny's, Downey Pharmacy, First Choice Haircutters, Hawkins Cheesies, J&B Books, Kelsey's Restaurants, Knights of Columbus, the Ladybug Cafe, Lawrence Storms, McDougall Insurance, North China Buffet. And the list goes on to include Party Lines at the in Coburg, Finley Foods, the Flower Shop, Prime Time Steakhouse, Prison Ford Sales, the Quinny Bowling Center, Rexall Pharmacy, Staples, Serenity Day Spa, Thompson Tents, Toro Sushi, Thai Sushi, and Tommaso and Jim's Pizzeria.
Well, you just listed off some of my favorite restaurants
Well,
right there.
Steve, you know what? What an impressive list, and what a testament to community involvement in this program and in this competition.
So let me ask you this, Jim. Who went out and talked to all these people to get them to sponsor?
Well, this was the job of the students. There's a lot of learning going on here today. We've not only got the 3 schools that are here competing, but we've got a culinary team that's been hard at work at this since September, putting this all together through their events management class. Now, they haven't had a lot of sleep in the last couple of days. I think they were here last night burning the midnight oil, but they're also learning. And in addition to all the culinary students and all the parts that they've put in, we've got a great TV staff here, and we're being directed and produced and pointed at and showed it at and screamed at by a bunch of really keen students here that are going to put this all together and put it in a final presentation. And not only that, but some real talent in terms of capturing what's going on in the kitchen and getting it out to the folks in the cafeteria so they can see what's going on.
It's a pretty amazing fusion that's going on between the schools, the high schools, the colleges, and the various departments within the college to put this thing together.
It's a brilliant partnership. It's something we're really proud of. You mentioned 11 years, and Steve, I think you've been part of all 11 of those years of this competition, and my hat goes off to you for your contributions as well. We couldn't do it without hundreds of people that are involved here, from the folks you see in front of the camera to those behind, and all those that are in support in terms of administration and marketing and promotion, and all the folks up in right up to the president's office who throw their hat in the ring here and help us out every way they can.
It's wonderful. Well, let's talk about the students who are involved with this, and we've asked the students to actually include a biography. Excuse me. We've asked the students to include a biography of who they are and what they do. I'd like to talk about some people who are in Ernestown Secondary because they're new to this program. They've really worked hard to get into this competition, and I really want to see them succeed. And one of the members on their team is Logan Lockridge. He's a grade 11 student at Ernestown Secondary School. He's been involved in several clubs and sports, such as basketball, rugby, field hockey, drama club, school band, and junior Iron Chef. So this is a very, very big boy. Some of his favorite things to do are to play rugby. Probably not in the kitchen, I'm just saying. Right, hang out with friends, read, cook, and eat. He joined Junior Iron Chef because not only does he love to cook, but he also loves to eat. There's the two simple motivations right there, right? Cooking and eating. In his grade 10 foods class, he learned the proper way to cook and was introduced to Junior Iron Chef by his foods teacher, Mrs. Pratt. It's her second year being part of Junior Iron Chef. Pardon me, it's his second year of being part of Junior Iron Chef. And even though we didn't make it to Loyalist College last year, that didn't stop them from competing again this year. So this year, he and his closest friends, Sydney, Jen, and Sabrina, decided to make it to Loyalist, and they have. He really enjoys cooking as a hobby, doesn't think he'll be becoming a chef for a living, but when he's done his 4 years at Ernestown Secondary, he hopes to go to Brock University to become a special needs teacher. Isn't that wonderful? Of course, you always have to have that other plan B, right? If it doesn't work out and he plans to be a journalist and go to the University of Ottawa. But he'll always cook for fun even after he graduates from high school.
Our main is the pork tenderloin stuffed with like feta cheese and spinach and red pepper. Well, I mainly work on the appetizer and the quinoa.
I work on the protein and I kind of help out everywhere else in the kitchen. We did a feta cheese, spinach, and roasted red pepper.
I think we have a good chance. We are practicing a lot and our group is just like a big bunch of friends with a really good teacher to help us out.
I think they should look out because this is kind of the first time we've kind of made it to the finals, so they don't really know what we can do.
At the dinner, they referred to us as the dark horses because the other two teams, Prince Edward County Collegiate as well as Loyalist, for the last couple of years gone into the finals. So because we haven't been there, we are referred to as the dark horse. So they have a good chance. You never know.
Ernestown. They have just begun their competition now, and we were just talking about Logan from Ernestown. I'd like to talk to you about another one of their team members, and that's Sabrina French. She's 16 years of age, and what motivated her to become part of the Junior Iron Chef competition is to learn more about cooking in general, and these are her words, and in an actual industry kitchen, and her love for cooking and her competitive attitude. Does she have any related hobbies in the culinary field? Yes, she likes to bake and decorate cakes. What inspired her to do cooking? She doesn't have any particular, but she just loves to cook. And her favorite part of the Junior Iron Chef competition? Well, experience cooking in an actual kitchen and creating a delicious meal with her friends. Her least favorite part, sharing the kitchen with other teams because sometimes they get in the way, and last time the other team caused me to burn myself. Well, there's some honesty. I like that. One thing she said she would change about the event is have the teams have separate times in the kitchen, which has been done. Yeah. How does she rate her second year's professionalism? On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the least, she says 5. She said the reason she chose to give it a 5 is because they help with any questions and they give you all the advice they can to help out. Another team member on the Ernestown Junior Iron Chef team is Jen Halligan. She says that she enjoys learning new things and having a good time socializing with her friends. She's in the 10th grade, she's 15 years of age, and she's part of the rainbow team in the Junior Iron Chef competition. Her friends offered her the spot in being Junior Iron Chef, and she thought it would be a great opportunity. She's also the youngest on the team with the least experience, but that doesn't stop anybody from bravery. She said she has limited knowledge on cooking and food preparation, so I'm willing to submit, Jim, that she's probably going to get more experience in the next 2 hours than she's probably had in the last 2 weeks. I think so. She says the most experience she has is helping my parents out in the kitchen, but next semester she's taking grade 10 foods class with Mrs. Pratt, whom we just saw recently on the show. She's never really thought about cooking being more than feeding herself, but now it has made her realize that it helped me out in other circumstances, like being under pressure in tight spaces and cooperating with a group of people. It's such a great experience to have accomplished so much. She said she can't wait to gain more techniques throughout my cooking experiences. So Tyler, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. I'm going to say, okay, tell me something. Go back 2 years or a year and a half when you came to Loyalist, and what were your expectations then, and how have they changed or how have they been fulfilled?
I think before I started, I just wanted to come in with a general knowledge of food. I didn't really have any specific expectations. Just like what I said, I wanted to learn. Now I want to pursue a career in this and continue to learn. It's always a learning experience, and that's what I love about it. What more can I say?
The learning never stops. No.
Never, ever.
Now, if we take a look at the screen here, she's peeling some, it looks like silver skin from that pork tenderloin. Can you describe why she's doing that and how to do that?
Yeah, the reason why she's taking the silver skin off the pork tenderloin is because that's not going to cook tender. It's going to remain chewy, so you want to take that off to have a nice tender product. And to do that, you just take a bony knife or a chef's knife, and you just slide it underneath the silver skin and take off as little of the meat as you can, and just take off the silver skin.
So it's almost like just peeling it away from the tenderloin.
Yep.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the pork tenderloin? Why they chose pork tenderloin, Jim?
Well, pork tenderloin, we were lucky enough to get sponsorship from the pork producers, and so all the protein was donated for the competition. So we certainly look for different things every year, so that the challenge is different for each team. This year we were lucky enough to get some pork contributed, so there you have it.
So we're streaming this to you live on the internet right now, by the way. So if I happen to fall off my chair, you'll just hear a very funny sound. We're actually having a sip of water right now. That looks like spinach that's being rinsed there. Am I correct in that
Yes.
solution? Who's serving the spinach?
Here we have a student that's butterflied their tenderloin, so they're getting ready to stuff this.
Stuff that, yes.
I know that LCVI or Ernestown there's for the stuffing of the pork tenderloin has spinach in it.
That's a very good dish. And, you know, anything you put in pork tenderloin is going to be good anyway. But when you get into that,
I'm excited to see what PECI is going to do with their tenderloin. I see on the recipe that it's stuffed and poached, and it's not a typical cooking method for pork tenderloin. So usually you want to get some high heat on that to brown it up and caramelize the outside, and then let it cook slowly inside. So poaching is a little different. So I'm really interested to see what that product comes out like.
well, they're going to roll it in tin foil, so that'll keep the ends tight. And it's a different way to cook it. I guess as long as it's sealed properly, it'll still stay quite tender. Because when you start boiling things, it tends to get not tender.
And what's mainly going to cook it is the steam inside.
So the steam from the pork itself will cook it. Understood. Let's go back to Ernestown, and I'd like to talk a little bit about their appetizer, these raspberry brownies. Tyler, can you describe what they're going to be doing with these this appetizer?
The appetizer is actually the bite triangles.
Yes.
The apricot sauce. It's very close to like a spanakopita, except it has a different filling. If you've ever had a spanakopita, it's a phyllo pastry dough, and it's very thin, and you can do it in 2 or 3 layers. And what happens is when you bake it off, it gets really crispy because you brush it with butter, and that butter evaporates in the steam, brings it up, and it's a very flaky, nice dish.
Very nice. Very nice. Mm-hmm. So hence they call it bite triangle.
Yep. And the apricot sauce I serve it with it's got a tiny bit of touch of heat to it, but it's actually extremely delicious.
So what puts the heat in there?
Some chili flakes.
Nice.
We saw not long ago students doing a lot of detail work now, so I guess getting some garnishes together and making sure everything is a uniform cut, presentation being really important, everything that has to look the same. We also saw a student cleaning some vanilla beans and scraping the seeds out of the vanilla beans.
Tyler, tell me, while cooking is important, while the flavor is important, what other things are in the culinary business are important to the diner's experience?
Well, right from the start, you have to be prepared. When you come into the kitchen and you're not prepared, it really shows, and it's ultimately going to affect the end product. Everything else, cleanliness comes down to it. You have to work clean. If you're a mess and say you're stuffing the pork tenderloin and they get the goat cheese all over the side and they leave it like that, it's going to show on the finished product and it's not going to look professional. And professionalism leading to that is also very important.
When you talk about being prepared, so what are some of the elements of being prepared in the kitchen?
For example, if I was coming on to an a la carte shift for my second year, I would have to know what our appetizers are and how they're prepared and what goes into them and how we're going to garnish them and our entree, and we have to have a finished timeline, and we have to have a mise en place list and who's going to be doing what, and just everything that has to go on to get the product finished.
Can you describe what mise en place is?
Mise en place is a French term and it means everything in place. And basically it's just you want to have all your prep done and ready to go so you're not doing it while the product is cooking.
So, for example, if you're going to be using, say, yellow pepper, it's going to be cut and ready to go in the slices and the cubes that you want or slices that you want.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the pan ready and smoking hot and then be cutting the peppers. It's not efficient.
So get ready.
That's
Get
right.
ready. Understood. Understood. So here we have Ernestown. We have.
There's an apple, Steve.
Thanks, Jim. It looks like an apple, feels like an apple, slices like an apple. It probably is. You're watching the 11th Annual Junior Iron Chef Competition. It's coming to you from Loyalist College at our Culinary Management and Culinary Arts program. And what you're seeing right now on the screen is inside our kitchen at Loyalist College. And we have 3 high schools competing. We have LCVI from Kingston. We have Ernestown from between Kingston and Appetizer. Best way to describe it, I suppose. And also PECI from Picton. Now, PECI has not started quite yet, but they will be here very shortly. We're watching the Ernestown team, and we're also watching the LCVI team. This is PECI. I see the Panthers on the shirts. That makes sense. Jim, in your experience, how many schools generally enter this competition to start off?
Well, we've had as many as 24, I think, in the first rounds. This year we had considerably less than that. Tyler, what was the exact number for the first round?
Oh, geez. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I know that we had teams and about 3 or 4 people, and each of us went to 2 schools. So 22 people in our class. Just figure how many?
10 schools?
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
Yeah, this year we had a lower number of students or schools involved in the first round, and then we ran 2 days of semifinals, and that brought us the 3 competing teams.
Now, do they follow the rules that are laid out for today originally as well?
That's it. Yeah, they're basically using the same product, and we help them in terms of supplying product, and so that they're working towards the end goal. We don't want to have them practice and go through regional competitions and then spring something completely new on them.
Okay, so
not at this stage.
So the same rules, basically the same menu all the way through.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing here today, they've probably prepared 3 or 4 times at least, if not more.
Well, I would imagine they've prepared it 3 or 4 times this week. I'm sure they've had some long after-school cooking sessions and practicing. There's no way I could imagine a team coming in here without having done at least 1 or 2 dry runs and trying to recreate and experience that pressure as close as possible to getting here today.
Well, practice is perfect, as they say, and that's what you have to do to make sure it's done properly. And there's a certain amount of intensity to this competition. And I suppose the layman, well, it's cooking. But it's deeper than that, isn't it?
It is. There's enough pressure in the kitchen without the competition. But when you bring in the competition, it's a whole different part of the culinary experience. We have students here in our programs that thrive on that go on and compete, like Jay, in a number of regional and national, international competitions. But it's not for everyone, Steve. It's just sometimes a bit too much to interest people into that world.
Let's get a piece of that intensity. Let's go to the kitchen and say hello to Mike, because he's got something important to say to you right now.
I'm short, right?
I'm here in a busy kitchen, and I'm here with secondary student and judge Stephanie Clark. Stephanie, can you tell me what got you into culinary?
I've always loved cooking. I've had a passion for it. You can express yourself through food. I care about what goes in my body and other people's body, and food is life. Everything revolves around food, so That's where my heart is.
Well, obviously these kids must be a little bit nervous coming into a bigger school, into this kitchen, and it's just running around like crazy. Can you give them some advice as to what they could go through to make it a little bit easier and relaxing for them?
Take your time, just remain focused, and don't pay any attention as to what's going on around you. Just remain focused on your own job, and just keep in mind that it's all for fun. It really is.
Well, what advice again would you give them to plate their dish at the final result there?
Make it interesting. A lot of trends in that deal with height, so I would just say keep up with your current trends. Make sure, like, if it's height is the current trend, then use some height when you're plating.
Great, that was the interview with second year culinary student and judge Stephanie Clark. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's wonderful. We're watching the 11th Annual Junior Iron Chef Competition at Loyalist College. This is Jim Whiteway from Loyalist College. This is Tyler Hunt, who is a second-year culinary arts student at Loyalist College. Tell me, Tyler, what are some of the, for lack of a better word, subjects that you have to take here as part of your program?
In our second year, currently we have a marketing class, so getting the word out and how to properly advertise our product. We have a business planning course, so how to make a business plan and how to follow that through. And that goes right down to costing and what our menu is going to be and if it's actually going to sell. And of course our a la carte, which can include working in the market or our chef class TV show and just many other things.
That's good. And obviously it's fulfilling for you.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so you're wearing a red hat. Why does one wear a red hat instead of a blue hat or a green hat or a black hat?
Well, in our course, red hats tell you that we're a second-year student, and the black hats would be a first year.
So the frosh and the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
right.
interesting. Jim, can you tell us what was the motivation of putting together the Junior Iron Chef competition? Some of the
Goes back
factors.
a long time,
I understand that, but I mean the tradition continues. So
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to the roots.
We actually started the Junior Iron Chef before the culinary program existed here at Loyalist College. We were brought that back in. Chef Heinz Haas, who was the coordinator of the hospitality and hotel and restaurant management program. Chef Heinz came to me one day with an idea and said, we spend an awful lot of time trying to get out there and tell the students in the secondary schools what's going on here at Loyalist College. Why don't we get them involved? We had been approached by a couple of other colleges to have our students involved in these types of competitions at the college level. But the problem we had at that point was we didn't have a culinary program, for one thing. And given our size, if we picked our top 10% of our students, we'd be sending 4 students. If George Brown took the top 10% of their students, they'd be sending 400 students. So the size is so different, and not that the talent's not here, but we didn't see that we were in a position, given our numbers, to compete at that level. So this was a way to bring an event to a hospitality program, give students a chance in our school to see an event through from idea to the actual execution of the event, and then the debriefing that goes with it, and get someone else involved and get those local high schools involved and show them what goes on here at the college. So all through the 11 years we've been here, we've had a number of students who have been part of the competition, either directly in the kitchen or in supporting roles, who've actually shown up here and become students. So it's done what we've hoped to do. It's gotten the message out about Loyalist. It's given our students an incredible opportunity to learn different things. It's not just about cooking, it's about all those other things that make your business successful. And these chefs are leaving, these cooks are leaving and going out into the world with a set of skills that you don't just get if you've peeled potatoes for 2 years.
Yeah, it's a little broader than that, isn't it? Oh,
Okay, what do you guys want to ask from their station?
Tyler. Chef John Schneeberger, as you can see, and he is leading the team that's going over to Paris at the end of this month. And Tyler's going to be on that team, and it's going to be a lot of fun because Paris is such a beautiful city. It really, really is. Do you have any goals or ambitions to accomplish when you're in Paris? There's things to see, or?
To be honest, I want to drink good wine,
Good.
eat good food,
Good.
and see lots of things that I might never get a chance to see again.
Now, sir, here's your diploma. You pass. You're watching the Junior Iron Chef competition from Loyalist College. It's actually the 11th annual Junior Iron Chef competition. We have 3 teams competing for the top prizes. What are the prizes, Tyler?
We have a lot of different prizes. Basically, what our idea was, we wanted to give them prizes that they could take back to their school and maybe give them a better shot next year, and other things that they can take with them to further pursue either their hobbies or turn it into a career or post-secondary.
Can you identify some of the prizes, Jim?
Well, there's a scholarship component that's involved for all 3 top placed teams, and a variety of kitchen tools and implements. We thank our local suppliers for some contributions there as well, and a job well done by the sponsorship team in getting quite a full table of things.
So there's got to be a good cash value to these prizes.
Well, I think there is.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm not asking for specific figures, but a scholarship alone has a good price to it too.
You know what? Everyone that competes in this will have a chance to earn scholarship monies to come to our program here at Loyalist, and we certainly hope they take advantage of it.
Oh, that's good. And I hope they do too. I mean, they're here already, so I think we've got them in the door, and I think they're doing what they love to do, and that is to prepare good food and to get involved in the business. Prince Edward Collegiate Institute is our second team competing today. We're going to take a quick look at the team, the coach, and their feelings on the competition.
20 seconds.
So this will be PECI, who have been perennial winners, I suppose. In the last 11 years, I think they've taken, what, 5 prizes?
They're the Montreal Canadiens of this competition, Steve.
There we go. So let's go and take a look at what PECI is all about here in the Junior Iron Chef competition at Loyalist College.
We've spent preparing for this competition for roughly 4 months.
Working with the rest of my team can sometimes be very interesting, and we have a lot of laughs, but we usually get along pretty well. It can be a little stressful, but most of the time I enjoy working with them and we get along really well.
My name's John Ross Woodland and I'm the coach of PCI. The most exciting thing about a competition is really just the adrenaline rush that you get by competing, the amount that you just want to work and get to that goal and get everything done.
I think that plating is the most exciting part because that's when you get to see your food all come together.
The best skills you can have are cleanliness and organization.
To be a chef, you need a good creativity, you need to know time management, you have to strive under pressure.
Good knife skills, safety, leadership skills too.
We're just gonna try and get it, we're gonna focus and try and get it done as fast as we can, best quality that we can do.
Watch out, we're coming for you.
Some of the competitors from PECI, from the Collegiate Institute, and they are Jared Hartley, who's 14 years old and in grade 9, and he's in the kitchen. Isn't that wonderful at that age? He joined Iron Chef because he loves food. His parents are both in the restaurant business. He's been around the business ever since he was born. He loves watching his mom and dad cook. He likes to help them. So he's always thought about becoming a chef. So to help him achieve that, his signature phrase, Jared, you're on fire. Well, he is today. Interesting facts about Jared Hartley. He plays golf. He's a goalie in hockey. And God bless the goalies because they don't get enough credit. They really don't. I mean, some team loses 2-0, they blame the goalie. Yeah, I can't do that. You got to score more goals. Also on the team for PECI is Jocelyn Wilson. She's 17 years old and in grade 12. She joined the Iron Chef team because she enjoys cooking and loves the atmosphere in the kitchen. She plans to go to school next year to be a CYW, or Child and Youth Worker. Another member of the PECI team is Keith Petrasek. He says he's almost 15, so he's getting there. He's getting there. He's in grade 9. He's always had a passion for cooking, especially baking, mainly due to his mom. He's also been told that his baking is quite good, so he thought giving Iron Chef a try would be a good thing. I agree. He also read about previous competitions in the newspaper and thought it sounded great, and his parents also encouraged him to join. He hopes to work in a restaurant someday soon, and having it on his resume would help make this dream a reality. His signature phrase, I really can't really put on Kojiko because it'd be my last performance in front of this camera, but William Shatner was in a TV show called Bleep My Dad Says, so his favorite saying is, oh, bleep. Another member of the PECI team is Megan Bellil. She's 16 years of age and she's in grade 11. She joined the Iron Chef team because she's always had an interest in cooking and baking, and she thought it would be a good experience to help her continue her pursuit as cooking as a hobby. She wants to go to college to take a mix of pastry and business courses. Well, Tyler, I think that's what you're taking right now, a mixture of pastry, cooking, and business courses, because, I mean, the restaurant business is, first of all, a business.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it's always good to have good food and serve your customer, but you really have to look at the bottom line at the end of the day and make sure that you got another nickel in your jeans and that everybody's getting paid.
That's right.
So to continue with Megan's biography here, she hopes to open her own pastry shop. And her signature phrase is, OMG, it's so friggin' hot. It's February when this is being recorded. Actually, it has been a rather mild February, so I'm not going to make any more editorial comment on that. The most important thing about Megan, she says, is that she's PECI's cake boss. I like that. Another member of the team is Sharon Oliphant. She's 17 in grade 12 and joined the Iron Chef team this year because she loves cooking and has had a part-time job as a cook for the past year and a half. She wants to go to post-secondary next year in order to become a chef and eventually open her own restaurant. And her signature phrase, calm your hormones. Interesting fact, she had 84 bobby pins in her hair during the semifinals. Well, I guess that's always a good thing, isn't it?
I suppose.
Yes. The coach of the PECI team is John Ross Woodland. He's a former competitor at the Junior Iron Chef program in 2007. He went to Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, and he decided to return home to be chef at the Devonshire Inn and to teach at his former high school. His team has been committed to local ingredients and trying to keep with the winter season. Together, they brainstormed the ingredients they wanted to use, and they wrote a menu together. And through his last 7 years in the culinary industry, he's learned a lot, starting with the Iron Chef program. He wants to give back everything he's gained due to this program, and teaching and competing is his way. He says, they're a very young team full of passion and work ethic, and something that any team would work to match. Do you see that evident in here?
Yeah, you can see that. Especially with the PECI team, I had an interesting conversation with Keith, one of the students that's on that team, and he told me something interesting about PECI. Even though they've been a force year after year, they have a rule at PECI that no one can compete on this team for more than 2 years. So it's not like they're recruiting them in grade 9, which they are, and taking them for the 4 or 5 years they might be in high school. They're actually turning people over, so it's fresh faces and everyone's getting a chance to be on the competing squad. So I thought that was really interesting because you could understand why a team would win year after year after year if they grabbed 4 grade 9 students and coached them for 4 years. But that's not the case at PECI. It's a fresh team every year.
So sophomore and you're out.
That's it.
Oh, I think that's a great strategy. I mean, obviously it has worked for this particular team over the last 11 years. So
well, it sure has, and it also goes to the fact that there's a lineup of students that want to get involved.
Yeah. I think one of the important things too, of course, is their supervisor, and her name is Heather Monroe. She teaches English at PECI, and she works extensively in the special ed department. And she says she has no experience in the food industry, and she's only prepared food for her family, but she's the teacher supervisor. She said she's learned a tremendous amount from the time she spent with John Ross Woodland and all the members of the Iron Chef team. They're a very hardworking and dedicated team. She's pleased to have had the opportunity to work with such an outstanding group of people. So it's no one person,
No,
it's a lot of people.
You know what, Steve? It's no one person, and Heather's bio really tells us a lot about what goes on in Iron Chef. And it's not professional cooks in high schools. It is English teachers and phys ed teachers and teachers from all different walks. Not every high school is lucky enough to have a foods expert. And in many cases, secondary teachers are given the foods prep courses because that's what's left over, and they don't have anything else to fill up that timetable.
So the volleyball coach has already got his job or her job, and
exactly
who's going to look after the kitchen.
But Heather's, I think, in having a conversation with her, she's really enjoyed this. It's been a great experience for her. She's had some great support from the outside world and a former Junior Iron Chef alum. So you know, it's the experience that Heather's having that we see at many of the high schools that we work with. That this is not only students displaying a passion for cooking, but it's teachers as well.
You see a beautiful dish being fried up there with the celery and the carrots. Tell me, Tyler, about your teachers.
My teachers, well,
And they're watching, so if you want to get the A+, I'm just kidding.
well, first of all, they're all amazing. Let's start with that.
We know that, that's for sure. I agree with that.
On the practical end, we have Chef John, who is also our program coordinator. He teaches Thursday nights. Chef Scott, who does Wednesday and Thursday night a la cartes, and Chef Steve, who does our lunches. I cannot say enough good things about those chefs. They are so knowledgeable, and passing that knowledge on to us, it's amazing because the things that, and like I said earlier, it's a constant learning experience, and it never stops, and it's amazing. That's what I love about this industry. It's just always learning.
So it's going to be tough to graduate, isn't it?
It is, but it'll be a different learning experience out in the real world.
What are your ambitions?
Honestly, I know you'd mentioned earlier, I want to get into a hotel and I want to start at the bottom. I want to cut potatoes all day and slice onions. I want to work my way up and learn that way.
That sounds fun. It doesn't matter where the hotel is. Are you looking at like a big city hotel or a small inn? Or?
I want to move to Toronto because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. I don't know if it's going to be before the summer ends or after. It's in the plans. That's what I'm thinking.
But you feel your prospects are good?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wonderful, wonderful.
It's interesting that Tyler says he wants to move to Toronto because that's where the action is. But what really happens, and we'll wait this out. But a lot of our grads, we actually encourage them to go out and, or what we say, get out of Dodge. This is an industry that if you want to cook Italian food, you should probably go to Italy. If you want to cook French cuisine, you should probably spend some time in France. And we really think that the foundation we lay here prepares our students to go off and be part of worlds in many different industry facets and opportunities. But what happens, and we're glad of it, is they come back. With the growth that's going on in Prince Edward County right now, and all those new wineries and inns and restaurants that are coming to town, we're seeing more and more of our grads getting pulled back from Toronto or Whistler or wherever it might be. So we're really pleased that they do go out and they do get that worldly experience, but they do come home.
Well, the county's undergoing a really wonderful transformation from, the old rural kind of image that it had before to becoming a really kind of upscale place to be.
It won't be long, Steve, and you won't have to go to Niagara or Napa anymore. You can just stay right here in Prince Edward County.
I can go to Bloomfield and have the same experience I can in Niagara on the Lake. So, and I think we know that. And once the secret's out, look out.
Yeah. And it's growing. I mean, growing in leaps and bounds. It wasn't that long ago. I remember having conversations with 2 or 3 wineries starting up in the county, and now they're over 30.
30 wineries.
You can spend more than just a half an hour or an afternoon down in Prince Edward County and get many, many different experiences.
Well, I have some acquaintances in the county, and they run wineries, and they just love it. And they're all expats who've come back and said, "This is really good. I like it."
So we see that. The other thing that Tyler mentioned is the variety of opportunities that are available, and we see that in the students that are here for Junior Iron Chef today. Not all of them want to be professional chefs, but they all come with a really wide range of experiences and hobbies and passion. This is just another avenue for them to express themselves and to do something that's really creative and I think, as they said, really rewarding.
So Tyler, what do we see being prepared here on screen?
I believe that would be the stuffed ravioli with the turnip veloute sauce.
Oh my. It sure looks appetizing.
It looks like they're getting really close to having something for the judges.
And this school is LCVI?
Yes.
And that looks like chocolate.
That looks like chocolate. Very good call, Jim. I like that. I've never met a chocolate I haven't enjoyed. In fact, one of my bucket list things is to actually go swimming in chocolate in Belgium. It's the best chocolate in the world comes from Belgium. With respect to John Schneeberger in Switzerland, best chocolate in the world is Belgium.
I think we'd have to ask one of our professors here at Loyalist College, Margaret Bowmaster, who's actually the lead instructor for the event management team. She's pretty much a chocolate aficionado. So you and John and Margaret can get into a debate about what's the best chocolate in the world.
Well, we'll have to get the samples out, and I'll call you in 20 pounds.
Students are hard at it. A lot of the students, or a lot of the teams are actually starting their main courses now. We see the one course is, or the one school is getting ready to bring its appetizer up.
So the chefs will soon be departing the kitchen to go to the tasting table. And it'll be, as they say, Judgment Day. Tell me, Tyler, how do you organize a kitchen in terms of equipment and so forth? Like, why does the stove go where it goes? Why does the stove... Is there any... What's the logic here?
I guess it's just all in thinking about efficiency. I mean, you're not going to have like a stove on the other side of the kitchen when the line's here. It's just, you want to reduce the time of travel because time is money, right?
Okay, so you want everything close at hand, if you will, so that you can turn around and there's the stove, or you can say there's the oven and so forth.
That's right.
Understood. You're watching the 11th Annual Junior Iron Chef Competition here at Loyalist College. It's being sponsored by the Culinary Arts and Management people, the Culinary Event people, and Event Management. Event Management people. And this is Jim Whiteway from Loyalist College. This is Tyler Hunt, who's a second-year student taking Culinary Arts at Loyalist College. And they're the ones who are bailing me when I put my foot in my mouth, because you're the expert. I'm just the throw guy who goes back.
But Steve, you've been around here long enough. I think you should be getting an honorary diploma in culinary. I think I can't imagine how you can sit here year after year and not be over there at that judges table.
Well, I'll volunteer next year to do so. Jim, can you tell us some of the prizes that all the teams are going to be receiving?
Every competing team that from the start, and there were 12 competing teams at the beginning of the competition, received a prize pack which included an apron and an instant read thermometer, a paring knife and a pizza pan, and a garnishing tool set from Brown Heckle, and a tea towel. Today, the three teams that are here are competing for first, second, and third place, obviously. The school with the right to call themselves champions at the end of the day are going to each receive, or the school will receive, a 6-quart KitchenAid stand mixer and $300 for whatever they need for their department from Trent Valley. The second place team will receive a $200 gift certificate from Trent Valley, and the third place team $100. And Trent Valley's been a long-time supporter of Junior Iron Chef, and we really thank them for the commitment they have to this program. The team members themselves, first place get a Johnson Stores Pro ceramic frying pan. The second place winners get a 10 centimeter acrylic pepper mill, and I don't know if you've been out shopping for pepper mills in recent times, but they are not a cheap item. And they also get a 4-piece paring knife set.
I'm here with Judge Jay McCall. Jay, we have these dishes that just were prepared by LCVI here. Can you just give us a brief history on what got you into culinary?
Sure. I graduated from the Loyalist program. Realized that I enjoy cooking, happen to be okay at it, which helps. And have been part of this competition now and this is my 5th time judging, so it's always exciting.
Okay. Well, like we were mentioning, we have that first dish here. Of course, we haven't gotten to taste that, but what is it going to take for the teams inside of the kitchen there to win the event today?
Well, all three teams are really focused, which is good to see right off the hop. That's a lot of the times what can win a competition is your actions in the kitchen, not necessarily your food. So all the teams seem to be on par that way so far.
Yeah, we've got a fast movement in there. With you being in there, did you find it hard to move around and sort of get a good look at all the other teams? Were you focused on one team, or were you able to sort of get around to see all three?
You try to get around to see all three, but sometimes you get stuck into a corner with the amount of traffic that gets going on. But yeah, you make an effort to not be biased as far as looking at one team and make your rounds.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I'll let you get back to this and enjoy your food.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Not as easy as you think to be a judge, is it, when you're in a competition like this, Tyler?
It certainly isn't.
What are some of the criteria that you would look at if you were a judge?
Well, it comes down to everything. Professionalism. You expect a certain level of professionalism. You want them to have decent knife skills where you know they're not going to cut their fingers off, because that's not going to cook tender. We don't want fingers in our food, obviously. We want them to have good ingredient knowledge, know what the flavor, what they're expecting for flavors, because certain things don't work well together. You want to have when they're plating, what you're looking for is something that looks good. You don't want an empty space in the middle, or you don't want food off to the side and have just empty areas, because it doesn't look good.
So the presentation has to be there.
Yes.
It's got to be on, it's got to be right. What are some of the trends in presentations now?
Height is definitely something you want to look for. Not like crazy like a tower, but definitely a little bit of height just to give it some volume and make it almost make it look like you're getting more than what's actually there.
Okay.
It's a little industry trick.
So there's an example of what we see on the camera right now.
Yes.
Less is more is big right now too, Steve. You know, it's not about a big platter of food. It's a showpiece. You don't want to have too many flavors in the dish. You don't want to have too many complexities. You want the flavors that are meant to come through, and not be overwhelmed by a melee of competition within one dish.
So what you're saying in a way is that simplicity really does work today.
Keep it simple. I think you see more and more restaurants are going back to, you know, older recipes and local grown produce and product and simple menus. You know, there's a trend to get back to the analog in many different ways. We've come so far in technology and we move ahead so quickly. I think people are really appreciating that back to basics and simple, make it good, make it right.
So a bit of traditionalism is coming into place.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, you know, when you look at how we ate 100 years ago, our diet 100 years ago, I know with respect, I mean, we're living a lot longer than we were back then, but it was much simpler. It was much simpler. It was more of a, for lack of a better word, a meat and potatoes kind of thing. But that also brings the big question here, and I'm going to turn it over to you, and that's fusion.
Fusion. Yes.
You know, fusion, like a lot of restaurants, there's Thai sushi, there's Indian cuisine labeled with French mixed in together. What's your take on that?
I think it's very interesting because you have all these different types of cuisines, and to try and mix a couple together to make it work, it sounds like a very interesting idea. You have, like you said, like Thai sushi, and there's also Tex-Mex, which is very popular, you know, and it's interesting to see what comes of it.
Tex-Mex, love it. If it ain't hot, it's not, I suppose, more than anything else. So we have our judges who are currently going through the appetizer from LCVI. It's a stuffed ravioli with turnip velouté sauce. And I would ask you to describe exactly what that is.
Well, velouté is basically you want a nice chicken stock or vegetable stock, depending if you want it vegetarian or not. So let's just say a chicken stock, and you're going to thicken that up with a roux, which is an equal part of butter or fat and flour, and you cook it out till it's blonde, and then you add your chicken stock and you cook that out a bit because you don't want the starchiness from the roux, and you add whatever flavors you like because it's a mother sauce and there's hundreds of derivatives. So what they decided to do was add turnip to it.
So you got that sharpness from the turnip and the flavor. That's wonderful.
Yes.
So the ravioli stuffed with ricotta cheese, and now the judges, of course, are doing their thing, trying to determine the quality of it. What are some of the things the judges are looking for? Like I'm watching one of the chefs here. He's not eating it. He's turning it over and moving it around on the plate a little bit.
With the dough, they're probably looking to see, because you want a certain texture for the dough. You don't want it to be too tough or too rubbery. It's got to be nice and light. And they're going to be looking for taste. Is it seasoned well? That sort of thing.
Is there a difficulty in creating dough like that? Is it a science or is it an art?
Well, you could technically call it baking because it's specific ingredients. So you can either add more eggs and make it a bit more gummy, or you can take that a bit away and make it a bit lighter. It's a lot of play with dough.
Well, the judges have finished with the stuffed ravioli and turnip velouté sauce from LCVI, and they've returned to the kitchen now, so they're going to be taking a look at the preparation area, the cooking area, and how the students are getting their food ready.
What we see on screen, Steve, is students peeling roasted red peppers, peeling the skin off the roasted red pepper. Most of us know how flavorful these are if we're not using them at home, but it's almost an essential step when you're using red peppers. They are sweet when they're raw, but that sweetness really intensifies once they've been cooked. So if you want to infuse any product with that really sweet pepper flavor, roasting them off is a key part of that.
What is the purpose in peeling it?
Well, as you can see, the skin is black. There's a couple of ways of roasting a pepper. One would be in the oven. I think that's the route these folks took. They painted the olive oil on and put them in the oven until they caramelized. Or you can put them right on the burners, and you know, it looks like you're burning the product, but really that caramelized flavor comes through as well as the sweetness and intensifies the flavor. So you peel that off because you don't want that burnt. Black is not good in a kitchen, Steve. Brown is good, black is not good.
No, it is not. And here I think we see some spinach being cooked.
Reducing that down. They were showing the risotto not long ago, and I really take my hat off to that team. This is not a dish for the weak of heart. It is a very difficult thing to prepare risotto and have it come out just right. So to do that under the pressures of today, it'll be interesting to see how that product comes out, and I wish them best of luck with that.
Our last but certainly not least team competing with us today is Loyalist College Vocational Institute from Kingston. Let's see what they have to say today.
My name is Doug James, and I'm the teacher of the Cook's Internship Program. This year's Iron Chef team has 2 grade 12s and 2 grade 11 students on the team. They have basically developed the menu themselves. They were told what the ingredients were, and then I just let them go at it. My job has really just been to help critique and finish some plates and make suggestions on flavors and appearances and that sort of stuff. So the students really have, it's their competition.
It's a pretty good team. Everyone knows what they have to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So I'm pretty confident this year.
My crew members are very interesting. I don't know, it's a great group to work with, so I can't complain about anything.
We probably spent 3 to 4 months preparing for the competition, getting ready, and setting up the menu.
Well, our students here at LCVI, we spend a lot of time developing their cutting skills, knife handling skills. They've all worked in every station in the kitchen, which is soup, sauces, and stocks, sandwich station. They've done short orders, so they've had a chance to experience what a real industrial kitchen would be like.
Strategy is just to keep her cool and kind of, if anything does go wrong, not to freak out, just keep cool and acting like it was all part of the plan.
You know, take your time. Position is important, but don't go so fast that you harm yourself. Same with competitions. Don't lose your cool. Positions. Really act when you're doing knife cuts. Don't forget stuff and then run back with something because something may burn.
That's LCVI, Loyalist Collegiate Vocational Institute, and they've been perennial competitors here at the Junior Iron Chef competition at Loyalist College. Their menu is stuffed ravioli with turnip veloute sauce, which you just saw being tested and being judged. They're going to have as the entree a pork tenderloin with risotto and chard. As you were saying, risotto is not an easy dish to prepare. It's a pan-seared pork tenderloin with a creamy risotto and Swiss chard sauce. And for dessert, a chocolate lava cake. Warm chocolate lava cake garnished with a raspberry coulis and creme anglaise. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tyler. What's a coulis?
A coulis, it could be a variety of things. You can have savory and sweet coulis. So let's just say, for example, we're doing a raspberry coulis. So you can either have it, you can just grind up some raspberries and add a bit of sugar, and that could be your coulis. Or you could actually cook it down into more of a sauce consistency.
So you do apply temperature to a coulis?
You can also do it without, though.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And it's just nice little flavoring to spread around.
Yep.
And what's creme anglaise?
Creme anglaise is actually, it's much like a pastry cream, which is basically just like a eggy custard.
So it has a thickness to it.
Mm-hmm. But the creme anglaise is thinned out a bit. It's mainly used to paint plates, so you can put it on a plate and spin it around and do other designs with the coulis on it.
Tyler didn't know he was going to have his final exam today.
Well, now here's that pan-seared pork tenderloin that we see there.
So they're trying to get that caramelized, that nice brown.
Oh yeah, beautiful color.
As you said, Jim, brown is good. Black, not so much.
That will help the pork stay tender and juicy when it goes into the oven. That caramelization on the outside keeps all the juices inside.
Understood. So that's very critical, because if it doesn't go into the frying pan first to get sealed, then all that tenderness is just going to explode from the tenderloin in the oven.
You can liken it to cooking something in a microwave. It gets cooked, but the color is just not that great, and maybe the texture and the flavors are just not there.
Yeah, microwaves are good for a limited time only, and I understand that. I mean, really, if you want to have quality food, you've got to use quality equipment. And I'm going to diss the microwave industry, but I don't mind somebody taking 25, 30 minutes to prepare my meal. It doesn't bother me. If you're going to, you get what you pay for.
People wait for good food, Steve. Food doesn't wait for people.
Now, is this one of the maxims that you have in your
I think
program?
that Chef Escoffier, that was one of his sayings. We live in a society where we run for fast food or quick service restaurants, but really fine dining is about the skill and technique that goes on. It's about things being prepared a la minute right now for the guest, and not something that comes out of a Ziploc bag and is simply reheated.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, we already have this instant gratification society, but it's nice to not have to have it, I love it.
And I think, it speaks to what we were talking about earlier with fusion and all the different things that are happening in the food industry right now. One of the things that's really great, especially in our area we can see it, is the client is becoming more educated. More people are taking cooking classes, more people are going to food and wine seminars and food and wine shows like the one that's happening here today, and they're learning. And because the customer is becoming more discerning, the skill level in the kitchen has to be that much higher. And it's not as easy to impress today as it was not that long ago.
And that's simply because the expectation level the bar has raised quite a bit.
Well, we all fancy ourselves to be cooks at home and have our dinner parties, but when you sit down and have a professional cook a meal for you, there needs to be a real difference.
So, Tyler, what do we see being prepared here?
It looks like the Spätzle, but if it is, they're doing it in a very unique way.
How's that?
Well, if it is the Spätzle, like I said earlier, you do it in a colander and push it through, but they're actually doing it off the back of a pan. And you still probably would get the shape. It's just, I've never seen it done that way. It's very interesting.
It looks as it's coming out of the pot like it worked.
Mm-hmm. This is the Dijon Spätzle.
And what we see here, and Tyler says it's unique, it's important to teach foundation, and everything is a standard. Once the students have mastered the foundational skills, then the creativity comes out, and if that's what becomes really exciting is, once we get our students from first year and into second year, where they start to have the opportunity to show us what they're all about in terms of what they see as the way to do things, or the way that they like to do things. They understand the basics, they understand the standards, but then they start to tweak. And right from the first or second year that they're here in school, so that when they get out into that other world, there's going to be some pretty amazing things in the pipeline.
So that's what makes the fun in dining, though, really. I mean, it's that creativity.
Sure.
Yes, I could take a bowl and I could put some cornflakes in it, pour milk in it, but if you can do something else with those cornflakes,
add some blueberries.
Exactly. There you go. Or how about rolling it in pork tenderloin, or something like that. But yeah, but yeah. So there's a lot of creativity you've got to bring to the table, if you excuse the pun. But you really have to.
Cooking is an art, Steve. These folks back there are skilled technicians, but they're also artists.
Yeah.
And you can make a really nice mashed potato, but you could do a lot of things with a mashed potato with a little bit of creativity and thinking about different ways to present. So you eat with your eyes first. We saw that when the importance of that presentation in the overall marking of the dishes here. It's not enough to taste good and be hot and fresh and prepared properly. It has to look great.
Presentation's everything. I like the phrase, especially when it comes to mashed potatoes, that a lot of garlics gave their lives for this dish. So Tyler, we see the chocolate being prepared. What kind of a dessert is this that we're looking at?
I believe that's a chocolate lava cake. So what they're doing is they made a ganache, which is basically just you take a chocolate and you can either heat the chocolate over a double boiler, or you can actually heat the cream and melt the chocolate with the boiling cream. And they're putting that in the middle, which will be the center when you cut open to it, and all the ooey chocolate will just rush out. And that's in the middle. They're putting the rest of their filling on top.
So the ganache is, according to the recipe here, is just water, corn syrup, cocoa powder, salt, and bittersweet chocolate. So that will be poured over the cake?
I believe that's the filling.
It's the filling, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
30 seconds for Mike.
Here we see a student doing the gnocchi.
That's Gnocchi, gnocchi. Looking good, looking good. The one thing that our viewers can't really experience is the aroma.
Yeah.
So there's a slight advantage to being live on scene as opposed to watching on screen. Let's have some more fun. Let's turn it over to Mike Wapscott. He's going to the kitchen and he's going to talk about what else? Food. Good food.
I'm here with our fourth and final judge, John Schneeberger. Chef John, can you just give us an information on what that last appetizer was and how it tasted?
Oh, well, tasted amazing. They did a fantastic job. It was a ravioli with a turnip velouté. Had a little tiny touch of roasted red pepper coulis on it, and beautiful. The sauce was absolutely dynamite, great flavor, beautiful smoothness. The pasta was perfect thickness, nice little al dente bite to it. Presentation was gorgeous. That was an absolutely outstanding dish. If I went to a restaurant and paid a whole lot of money for it, I'd have been very, very happy.
Absolutely. And what have you noticed out of these three teams so far today there, John?
I'm really impressed, to be honest with you. They're doing an amazing job. They're dealing with a lot of pressure. I mean, being in the kitchen right now, you get all the media folk, all the lights, there's, you know, all the extra 4 judges walking around, extra chefs walking around, and they're handling it, and they're doing great with it. Their communication is fantastic. These guys are like seasoned pros. They're doing a really impressive job.
Well, if you were to give them a couple words of advice being the professional in this business, what would you give to them?
Oh, well, you know, for the future, you just keep doing what you're doing, follow your dreams. For right now, you know, just, again, they are dealing with the pressure, so I can't really give them any more advice than that. They're doing a great job.
That was our fourth and final judge, John Schneeberger. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Chef John. We're feeling the love here at the Junior Iron Chef Competition. It's our 11th annual Junior Iron Chef Competition, and you just saw Chef John Schneeberger, who has been a mainstay of the program here at Loyalist College. And he's going to be your fearless leader to go to Paris.
That's right.
Are you looking forward to that?
Oh,
yes. He asked a loaded question there, of course, you know. So, what kind of restaurants do you envision seeing in Paris? What kind of food are you going to go after?
Well, from what Chef John has told us, and I believe this is his idea, is he doesn't like to go to all the tourist areas. He wants to do what the locals do and really experience what Paris is and not what the tourists go to see.
So you're going to go down an alley and find a really nice bistro or...
Find things that you literally cannot get anywhere else because they don't produce that for the rest of the world. It's local.
That would be just an adventure. And 22? How many students are going?
About 22, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'll be just wonderful.
Things are moving along pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So what's your take now that we've gone to the staggered start where each team started 15 minutes apart?
I think it's really interesting. In previous years, you sort of got a feel for whether teams were, you know, on schedule or not, and that's a little harder to read right now. So it's going to be a little tougher for the judges, I think, in the kitchen to make sure that they're paying attention to the timing, and for the teams, especially for the teams, that they can't be watching what other teams are doing. So hopefully that stagger has taken that out of the mix.
Well, the judges are doing their thing, making sure that here we go. There's the stuffed pork tenderloin. That is going to be delicious. You know, it's a tough job trying to judge these dishes, isn't it?
It really is.
It really is. Now, will that be trussed, that pork tenderloin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think what I'm, as an observation here, Jim, as we're watching Ernestown and their stuffed pork tenderloin, is that the kitchen appears to be less cluttered.
Yeah, I think so. I think because everybody's doing, everybody's menu is at a different stage. We're not seeing everything happening at the same time. So I also think that this year there's a bit more of a relaxed attitude there. When we're not in the kitchen, but from what I'm seeing, these teams they look pretty confident. They look relaxed. They're on task. They're focused. There's no panic. They seem to have a real good handle on what has to be done, and they're working well.
We just had a shot of the gnocchi being prepared there, and that's not an easy thing to accomplish either.
No, I would stay away from that from my lack of experience in those areas. Baking generally or anything related to flour is not one of my fortes.
Now, protein, on the other hand, might be.
Well, you know, Chef John explained it to me that I have enough experience that I can cook, and cooking you can play around and you can correct your mistakes. Baking is a science, though. You don't have a second shot at it. If you don't follow the recipe exactly, forget about it. It's not going to happen.
Agreed. Tyler, can you tell us a little bit about that? We had a couple of shots of the pork tenderloin being stuffed. That's part of the entry from Ernestown. Could you tell us about the preparation and what's going into that stuffing and how they're going to cook it?
Yep. So just like the other teams, they've had to take the pork tenderloin and cut out all that silver skin, and they butterflied it open in the middle, and they pounded it out so it's flat, and just to get a little bit more surface area to make it easier to wrap. And if you saw earlier, they were roasting the red peppers, and that's what this is for. And they have the spinach and the feta cheese, and they line that up very nicely inside, so it's going to be nice and uniform. There's not going to be a spot where you're going to get less filling than another, which is very important. So what they're going to do is they're going to wrap it up very tightly and then truss it. And what that does is it keeps it all uniform, make sure that it doesn't burst apart when cooking.
All the way through.
Yep.
Okay. And now the other thing is, would you sear that as well?
Yes.
Put it in the
Yes.
oven? Understood. It looks like it's going to be a very delicious dish.
Oh, yes.
How thick should that pork be pounded to? What kind of thickness do you like to have even stuffed?
For a pork tenderloin, it's not really about your thickness you're worried about. You just kind of want to make it level. If you're doing something like a schnitzel, a pork schnitzel, you might want it half an inch, quarter of an inch thick. But for this, it doesn't really matter.
I guess just as long as it's even.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the key thing here. Now, I noticed that it's all one string being used to truss this tenderloin. Is that the rule?
There's actually a few different ways to do it. You can do it like she's doing it there, and you just make knots, and then after you go all the way up the pork tenderloin, you can flip it over and then bring the string back to those knots, and it keeps it very tight. And you can also do it in individual strings.
Where do you draw the line when you're trussing a pork tenderloin? Just enough to hold it together? I'm just fishing for, how tight should it be?
It's going to have to be fairly tight enough to keep it uniform, but not that you're going to be splitting it and all the filling's going to come out.
And I notice a little bit of extra fillings being added now to this, to the tip of the tenderloin, it seems.
And then it goes back to that thing, it's all uniformity. You want to have it a nice cut so no one's getting short-ended on the stuffing.
That's true, because when it comes out on the plate, it has to be, again, we talk about everything in its place and looking good, and so every piece has to be uniform.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks like PECI is, as they say in the industry, going to plate. They're getting their appetizer ready here. So the judges are going to have to come out here and bless their hearts, taste some more fantastic food.
It must be tough.
As the cliche goes, it's a tough job. Somebody has to do it. Tell us a little bit about that PECI's appetizer, the turnip gnocchi.
So they got a gnocchi. It's like I said earlier. It's much like a noodle. They have a carrot ginger puree, and that's gonna add. I think that's gonna add some nice color and a different level of flavor to the plate. 10-year balsamic vinegar. The balsamic vinegar aged is amazing. I once saw a television program where a chef used 100-year-old balsamic.
Really?
Yeah, and the flavor was so immense. He was actually able to put in a vanilla ice cream, and that's
crazy.
And it's expensive, but it would be an amazing treat.
Yeah, how much would 100-year-old balsamic vinegar cost for a liter?
I don't think you get in a liter.
Sell your car. Yeah, I hear that. Can I get a mortgage on this bottle of balsamic vinegar?
If you can afford a liter, you don't have to ask.
That's right. And they also
right beside the Johnny Walker Blue.
And they also have frizzled leeks going with that. So the leeks, a nice chiffonade, tossed in cornstarch and deep fried till it's a nice golden brown, and that's going to add a nice crisp to the plate.
So you used an industry word called chiffonade?
Yeah, it's almost think like a julienne, which is a matchstick size, but it's almost even thinner than that. It's just a really quick chop.
Nice and light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, they're using a mold here to keep everything uniform and in the center of the plate.
And that's also going to help all three plates look exactly alike, which is one of the criteria.
Well, I suppose the key thing, I mean, when you're serving in a restaurant, you want all those dishes to be uniform. They'll be the same. So everybody, so if whether I order or you order, we're going to get the same thing.
That's right. Because if you're sitting at a table and you see another guy who ordered the same thing that looks different, you're like, hey, why'd he get more than I did?
Yeah. No fair. Yeah.
I'm not paying as much. Really seeing the teamwork here, Steve, not just with this group, but with the group before. It's not one person doing one thing. It's everybody's involved. They're talking it out. They're asking for a second set of eyes. And
this, I take it, is the balsamic vinegar being used.
Yes, and you can even see how a little amount you need. Balsamic vinegar is very powerful.
It is. I saw that high five. Here we go. So the judges are taking their seat, and our judges today are Chef John Schneeberger. He's from Loyalist College Culinary Management, Culinary Skills Program. Chef Jay McCall, who is a graduate of the Loyalist Culinary Management Program, and he's the executive chef at East Main Bistro in Picton. Also, Chef Christopher Enu, he's the executive chef of St. Anne's Spa in Grafton, which is a wonderful place. I would strongly encourage you to visit that place. And we also have Stephanie Clark as a judge, and she's a second-year student in the Culinary Management Program here at Loyalist College. So while you're seeing the food being prepared in the kitchen, our judges right now are judging PECI's entry.
And here's what they're looking at, Steve.
This is the turnip gnocchi. And those are that's the frizzled leeks that we see on top of that dish?
Yes.
That's going to be delicious.
Oh yeah, and it looks excellent too.
Yeah. And of course, the turnip adds a little heat to it because it's got that nice flavor to it. But the 10-year-old balsamic vinegar's got to bring a whole new dimension to
oh yeah,
to the dish.
And it adds a nice color to the plate as well, which is another important factor.
It has to look attractive.
Yes.
What are some of the tricks that you like to use to make an appetizer look attractive, or any plate look attractive?
A lot of things is you want to try and find ways to cook to keep natural colors. So if you're blanching asparagus, it's 30 seconds in hot water and it's out. You want to keep that vibrant green.
Okay.
So being careful not to cook things too long, using certain ingredients like a cherry tomato or a sprig of thyme to just take it to the next level.
So you're looking really for a combination of colors.
Yes.
To the plate. This is fascinating. So here are our judges: Chef John, Stephanie, Chef Christopher, and Chef Jay. Hard at work, I must add.
It is a tough job.
Well, they're looking at a whole pile of things in the final product. And Tyler, maybe you could describe exactly, when they're looking at the final product, in this case it's an appetizer, what are some of the things that they're looking for in these appetizers?
Well, they're looking for portion size, consistency. It's mainly the things we've always been talking about, like, does it look good? Does it taste good? Are the flavors there? Is anything, God forbid, burnt, or is it overcooked? Just every little thing counts. Did they wipe the plates? Are there fingerprints on it?
So it's right down to that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they will examine that. That's fascinating. And of course, it's judged on a scale of 1 through 5, 5 being the top score and 1 being the low score. And I'm looking over to my right here because that's where the judges are seated. But I mentioned this earlier. The aroma here is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So now here we see some pan searing going on. This is the bacon wrapped pork tenderloin. Now that looks appetizing.
Great caramelization on the outside.
That would be LCVI's pork tenderloin.
We're going to serve that with risotto and chard. But there's a lot of, look at the teamwork going on here in this kitchen.
Well, and the cleanliness too, Steve. I keep going back to that safe food handling and practicing health and safety in the kitchen, and everything's organized, everything's clean, everything's in its place.
Well, they're very well prepared. Now, what's being cooked in this double boiler here?
I'd imagine that'd probably be the creme anglaise.
So that's got to be whisked till thick?
Yes. You gotta be careful, and it's good to use whisk it vigorously because if you get any up on the side, that's gonna scramble and it's not gonna come out of your finished product. You can't get rid of those lumps.
Now, is this cheese that's going into this mixture?
It's hard to say. Oh,
That's
definitely
cheese.
That's
I think it's butter. I think they added some butter to mount or finish the dish. That's a lot of cheese going in there. Well, this is risotto. Working in tight spaces there, Steve. You know, it's like it would be in any professional kitchen. There's not a lot of room back there.
Well, you know, on camera, it looks like that's a huge monster kitchen that would seat, you know, or house 50, 60 people. You know, the camera always makes you look bigger. So, but it really is a tight, confined area that you have to get your stuff together.
You know, this is 3 or 4 times the size of what a typical restaurant kitchen would be. You have to remember that every square foot that's not dining room isn't making you any money.
That's true.
So, you know, you want to make that kitchen as tight and efficient as possible, but you need to make it as small as possible so that you can maximize the amount of dining space you have and get that extra table in there.
Well, tell me about the restaurant business. I mean, on Monday you have X amount of customers, but by the time, say, Friday or Saturday rolls around, restaurant's full and there's no more reservation time. How do you plan a restaurant to accommodate those two poles?
Well, you look at different strategies, specials, lunchtime things. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are 3 different meals and can be 3 different sets of clients. So you can really market your restaurant to certain times and certain groups. If dinner's full, then maybe you look at growing your late night business and offer, you know, a little jazz trio and some wine tastings and that type of thing later on in the evening after that dinner rush, or trying to figure out how do you get people in mid-afternoon. Anytime that a restaurant seat is empty, it's money lost, and that's the difficult thing about restaurants is you can't resell that table. If no one was there during that meal period, that's it.
It's gone.
It's gone. So you need to be full all the time and decide what times those are going to be. I think a lot of restaurants try to be everything to everyone, and that's not always possible either. So identifying what it is you're going to do and when your market's available to you, and making the match. It's not an easy game. There's thousands of restaurants open every year, and thousands of restaurants fail. And it's not because of lack of passion or skill or abilities. It comes down to the amazing amount of planning that has to go into a restaurant, looking at everything from location, which is, you know, some people say location, 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 the 3 most important things to a restaurant. But it's everything, understanding your market, understanding your product, understanding the skill level of your staff, being able to make what you want to do and serve it at a price that makes money. I think our students learn here, and I've probably learned some lessons in the last couple of days about the cost of raw product and how does that translate to what the customer pays. You know, a lot of times you go out to dinner right now and you're looking at $30, $35 entrees, and you wonder, well, how can this be so expensive? They must be making a ton of money here. But when you start to think about how expensive it is to have that labor, to pay your hydro, to pay your rent or your mortgage, to get your linens cleaned, and then to buy the product and put it all together.
Well, we all buy groceries, and we know that the prices are not going south.
And what it costs us to put on a dinner party at home for 4, we did that for free. So add the cost of labor and everything else in, and it's a different picture at the end of the day.
Maybe some cases small is good.
You know what, if you can do small and you can be full and you can build up a loyalty within your clients so that you're full all the time, there's nothing wrong with having a lineup. You know, if you can't get into that restaurant, that makes you want to get into that restaurant even more.
It makes the demand even
So
stronger.
you want to have that. There's nothing wrong with having a 2 or 3 week or month waiting list to get into a restaurant.
My wife and I were fortunate enough to spend some time in Venice, Italy, and we took a little walk on the other side of the Grand Canal, and we remarked on how many restaurants there were that would seat perhaps on a good night 12 people, 15 people, 18 people, and we're going by on Wednesday night. It's jammed. It's totally jammed. Now I realize that, you know, Venice is a tourist attraction basically, but we went walking along the quay and we found some marvelous restaurants. And the one thing that really struck me was I was waiting to find a wine list at this one restaurant that would seat about 25, 30 people, and there's no wine list because the guy who owns the restaurant makes the wine. So if you like our wine, then that's the way it is. And it was good. I don't think there's any bad wine in Italy anyway. there is, I don't want to know about it.
I haven't found one yet.
Well, as soon as the show's over, Jim, let's take a little field trip.
See them slicing up the pork now, a little pink inside, and that's completely acceptable with pork.
What has changed in the pork industry with reference to that? Because, I mean, in my mom's time, she killed it twice.
Oh, and I think a lot of people still do that, Steve. I think a lot of technology's come a long way. We have farmers that are practicing a safer way to raise the animals. The animals are in cleaner environments. The processing is regulated and maintained, and you know, it's a combination of many things. You certainly don't want to serve pork rare, but that medium well is quite acceptable. That little bit of pink is quite acceptable. And you know what's really great about that is once pork becomes that other white meat, it becomes very dry and tough, and keeping the moisture, keeping a nice texture to pork is difficult. But if you can get it out of the oven or whatever way it is you're cooking, just at that point where there's still that little bit of pink, there's a juicy product that's going to be really tender.
It keeps the tender and tenderloin. And
that's right.
Pork tenderloin is one of my favorite foods to cook and to serve there. So we just saw them preparing the pork tenderloin with risotto and chard, and that's from LCVI. That's being put on the plate right now, and very shortly, of course, our judges get to judge it and decide how they're going to go with this dish. It looks like Christmas. You see the red and green?
Colors are phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. It really is. It looks great.
It's an excellent presentation. And you know what? Tyler mentioned it. Chard is not a typical vegetable. It is something that a lot of people probably walk by in the grocery store and go, don't know what it is, don't like the looks of it. It has a really interesting flavor, bitter flavor. Something that's very similar that a lot of people don't use is beetroot. When you buy beets, a lot of people will just cut the greens off and throw them away. But there's another green leafy vegetable
yes,
that has a lot of nutrient value and a very interesting flavor that can add a real twist to a dish.
So Tyler, you mentioned height as might earlier on. So are we seeing this in action here?
Yeah, and you can see the way they're laying the fork up against their other starch and veg. It looks really appealing.
It's not the typical meat, potatoes, and vegetable plate, right?
Yeah.
It's bringing everything together. That it's not three distinct pieces on a plate, but it is a piece of art.
And I see a lot of white space on that plate. And is that critical as well?
Yeah, and that's fine because what they've done is they actually made their product the central part of the plate. Around the edge, that's fine. If it was in the middle or something between your products, then it looks empty and looks wrong. That it shouldn't be there. What they've done there is actually very nice because they put their starch down and they put their veg on top of it, and then they lean their protein on it. And it looks.
Is that a standard way of doing the presentation? The starch first, and the veg, and then the protein, or?
What that can really come down to is when you're plating, what's going to be most efficient? And especially if you're working with more than one person, you got to assign. This person's going to put down the starch first, this person's going to put down the veg, and this person's going to come behind you with the protein. And you really have to identify that, and it looks like they've done that here.
Now, what do we see being poured and drizzled over this?
The recipe didn't say sauce. It may just be part of the braising liquid.
I'm just looking at the recipe here. That's probably the braising liquid. Yes. It's actually LCVI's little secret.
Slicing that bacon wrap tenderloin.
They stuffed that as well, but they stuffed it differently, didn't they, Tyler? They didn't butterfly it that I saw. They've actually inserted the stuffing without butterflying.
So they pulled the hole down through the.
Unless we missed that step.
No, that's actually what they did, and it's there's nothing wrong with that. Both ways are perfectly acceptable. What they did was they probably made a small incision with a knife, and then took their steel, which is a piece of metal with grates in it that you can use to keep your knife have a fine edge, and they just stuck that through and put their stuffing in that way. And that doesn't doing it that way doesn't require you to truss. So
you're doing an
interesting
cut.
Bacon does the work too. So
that's right.
Doing an interesting cut to give the protein height on the plate.
And it shows another level of culinary technique that, you know, cutting on a bias or just different ways than cutting a straight line makes it look that much sexier on a plate, you know?
We have to keep in mind as well that these are very, very dedicated high school students who are doing all the work here, the preparation, the cooking, the cleaning, and so forth. Now they're getting excellent guidance from their teachers and coaches and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, there isn't anybody on these teams who are over 17 years of age.
Steve, you know, if you watch the Food Network and Canada's Next Greatest Chef or whatever, any one of these students could be there. Look at the organization, look at the teamwork. They're cool, they're under a great deal of pressure right now. No one can possibly know what kind of pressure they're under. But they've got it under control, and I haven't once thought today that I'm looking at someone in grade 9 or 10. These are seasoned, you know, with as seasoned as they can be at the age they're at, but my, they're running a professional organization.
That is a beautiful dish.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of thought in that.
What am I looking at here?
That looks like pieces of carrot, and they formed it into a cup. Ooh.
So this is the dish that's about to be judged. The judges are taking their seats here. That is beautiful.
You see the glisten on it. It looks fresh, and
this is the pork tenderloin with risotto and chard at the judges, and that looks pan risen. And the judges are now getting their little forks out, their little knives, and they're going to do a little taste test, and they're going to check for the texture. They're going to look at the flavor. They're going to look at the presentation. And it's a tough job, I understand that, but they do a really good job at it. So, and of course, one team has to win. It's the way it works, you know. But
well, they've set a pretty high bar. I mean, that's the interesting part of today's challenge. With one team going first, is the chefs have really got a tough job. When you see that first entree comes out, and that's what everything else is going to be judged against.
It's almost like a figure skating competition. The first skater out is the bar, so to speak.
Well, that's where the other pieces come in. You know, the chefs can be presented with 3 fantastic entrees and score them all 100%. It's the back of the house things that we may not necessarily be part of that matters. The professionalism, the teamwork, the cleanliness, how the team works and gels. Understanding the blending of the 3 courses, all those things are the tiebreakers, because when you look at products that are coming at us right now, how do you make a decision on who's going to be first place?
That's true. So we see dessert being prepared here, Tyler. What are we looking at here?
That is the chocolate lava cake, and they're just about to spoon on the creme anglaise. And I just want to say, before anyone jumps to any conclusions, the sauce isn't burnt, but they actually use fresh vanilla bean in that. So that's what the blackness is from. And trust me, you'll want that in there, because fresh vanilla bean is absolutely amazing.
And it's good for you.
Yeah.
Because it tastes good. Anything that tastes good is good for you.
I'll agree with that.
Makes your brain happy. So she's being very particular about how she's spreading that creme anglaise. Is it anglaise? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, creme anglaise.
And this is the raspberry coolness we see being applied?
Yes.
It's a paintbrush.
Oh, look at this. Isn't that gorgeous?
I'm interested to see, because they may take a toothpick through that, and they may make hearts, or they could just leave it that way. And that's probably why they did that technique with that spoon.
Well, we'll stay tuned for that. Oh, gee, there's more dessert.
I would assume that's the PECI's maple pudding and walnut chiffon cake. Or yes.
What is, can you describe to me, it says PECI, it's brown butter sabayon, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah, sabayon. It's almost like a custard as well. It's very eggy, and it's got how do I explain it? It's got a very nice texture. It's light and fluffy.
Here's our second entree up here, Steve. This is PECI's bacon-wrapped pork tenderloin.
You're watching the 11th annual Junior Iron Chef competition here at Loyalist College. I have Tyler Hunt here, and I have Jim Whiteway here. My name is Steve Bolton, and we're having a heck of a lot of fun because the day that television is able to transmit aroma, you'll have it made. But just to my right, about 10 feet away, are the judges. And I'm judge and jealous. They both start with the letter J. So I'm jealous of the judges here. But you know something? That's a big challenge for them. It really is. As you can see, the names of the judges are below. Chef John, Stephanie Clark, who's in our culinary management program here, Chef Christopher, and Chef Jay.
Get one dish out and get right back at it.
Right to it, yeah.
No time to waste.
A quiet kitchen is a broke kitchen.
It's hard to imagine that there's 3 teams in there. You know, I'm really pleased to see how well these teams are working together
Look at
today.
that presentation on that plate. That's our lava cake, is it?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it is.
So that's LCVI done. And now they can go,
Yeah. You can breathe now. Oh, look at that.
That looks spectacular.
Fantastic.
That little mint leaf there is just perfect, isn't it?
And you know when you cut into that, something wonderful is going to happen.
Well, let's just hope we get our camera operator to get a real close-in shot when that's into. It's cut into. So we're having a lot of fun here at Loyalist College, and we have the 3 teams. We have the Loyalist Collegiate Vocational Institute. From Kingston, we have Ernestown Secondary School, which is here for the first time, actually, in the 11 years of competition. We welcome them with open arms and wish them all the best. And of course, we also have the perennial favorites, which is Prince Edward Collegiate Institute from Picton in the county. And they're going through their throws. They're putting their dessert together right now. Their delicious dessert. That's the maple pudding with walnut chiffon cake. Butternut squash seems to be one of the new comfort foods, if you will.
Well, it's one of those root vegetables, one of those, you know, traditional back to basic things,
Yeah.
right? And you can do so many things with butternut squash. And, you know, more and more, you talked about fusion, adding curry to butternut squash soup, things like that. Fantastic.
It is really, really wonderful. And butternut squash soup by itself is a nice dish.
Well, you know, the other piece is that people know how to cook these vegetables now, and it's not the mush on the plate that we might have had when we were younger.
Of course, this goes back to your statement about the level of expectation, level of education of the consumer.
Exactly.
Yes, it's increased, yeah.
Grocery stores have incredible products to offer, and they wouldn't be doing that if people didn't know how to prepare them. And there can be a big difference between something that's cooked properly and something that's been cooked to death. This looks like a very interesting dessert.
The layered look is always good.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like a meal in itself.
I like the serving style. I mean, they're serving those tall handled glasses.
And it's good that they layered it. I don't know if you've ever had like a trifle, and sometimes when you get to the bottom of them, it's just dry cake. So it's nice that they layered that, so you're not just getting that, you're getting moist cake.
Which is a good thing.
It's very good
Really
thing.
good thing.
The smell is coming over here to our table now, and it's nice to just be part of that, if nothing else. I think next year we should change the rules a bit more. We'll have the staggered start, but instead of preparing 3 dishes, the students will have to prepare 6.
6. And, well, no, maybe we have a crew here, too.
Well, maybe we should have the students back for the celebration dinner instead of coming in for the celebration dinner beforehand and let them cook dinner for us. I don't know how they're going to judge these, how they're going to tell the difference. It'll be interesting to see at the end of the day what the differences were, what the factors that separate first from second from third.
Keep talking, my notes will.
Yeah. We've lost Steve now. No, nice presentation and great product. Looks really good from here.
Food's better when you eat it.
Pork tenderloins going in the oven. So,
Tyler, what's a good roasting temperature for pork tenderloin?
about 350. 350. You want a higher heat because it's not a thick piece of meat, so you want to cook it somewhat quick.
Yeah. especially when it's stuffed, so it's, the meat itself, protein tends to be more thinner, doesn't it? Yeah.
So the interesting piece about the split time frame is Ernestown hasn't put out their appetizer yet, and LCVI is finished.
It's finished.
So there's less pressure now, I guess, on the other two teams because there'll be one less team in the kitchen, but also a great feeling, I'm sure, at the LCVI team to be able to go outside and take a deep breath and say that's that. Cleaning up is not a major task for them. They did a great job of staying clean as they went along. But now it's the waiting.
That's it. So here's the chocolate lava cake being judged. You know, sometimes you'll get served a dish that looks so pretty, you don't want to really even cut into it, you know? And other times, you just want to eat it all. So this is that the apricot sauce we're looking at here, I think?
Looks like yes.
Yeah. So that's going to go on the bite triangles, and that would be Ernestown's entry. Now there's teamwork. Look at this. Next to God in this, isn't it? Is it? Chef John has just furnished us with
I get to go first
chocolate
again?
lava cake. Yes, you can, sir. Not a problem.
Oh my, look at that.
That is beautiful.
Comment? Oh, wait. Enjoy. Yeah, you know. Uh-oh. I'm eating again.
You just want to roll that around.
Want some? Want some?
No, it's fine.
You can never ever have enough chocolate. Okay, you just can't. There's no way. Look at this.
I'm surprised that the judges were able to make a decision without eating the whole cake.
I've come to the conclusion, I don't want to be a judge. I just want to taste everything, that's all. That's fantastic.
Fabulous.
And that, of course, is the chocolate lava cake, which is the entry from LCVI in Kingston Loyalist Collegiate Vocational Institute.
Nice temperature. The cake has a nice texture to it.
Temperature's
great
perfect.
presentation. Steve, you've been here 11 years now doing this. What have you seen change? How have you seen this competition evolve?
Less anxiety on the students' part, I think, because it's becoming more ingrained. And I think what also happened was the evolution has put it to the point where, as Tyler was saying, they started this in September.
Right.
Okay, so it's the planning, I think, has come around. And I think the other thing too is there's a bit of perhaps a routine with our sponsors who are so totally on board. Because I can go back 11 years when we started, and people were biting their fingernails because, well, are we going to be able to get enough aprons? Are we going to be in? And everybody has wholeheartedly jumped in. And I've seen it grow. That's what I've seen. There's a big evolution. The prizes are much bigger. I think the caliber of the student we're getting at the high school level has changed quite a bit because now they understand what's going on and they want to compete. I mean, you know, they always say winning isn't everything. Well, I'm sorry, sometimes it is. and
if it isn't everything, why are they keeping score?
Well, that too. So, you know, but it's always wonderful, and I think so. There's that level, and what I also see too, of course, is that the teachers who are supervising the cooking, because teachers aren't doing the cooking, they're just supervising. They're really the cheerleaders for the students. They now have a really good relationship with our program, and I think because of that closeness, we see a much smoother execution of the competition. And the biggest change is what you don't actually see on camera, and that's the exhibition we have going on here. And in our cafeteria area right now at Loyalist College, we have a huge food expo going on. There's wine tasting, there's sampling going on, there's products from, say, for example, Trent Valley Distributors, and they're showing some of their stuff as well. And it's really come together.
There's actually 14 outside companies that have come in as vendors at the Food and Beverage Show. So we're really excited with that. That's part and parcel. I mean, that is something that was only introduced to the Junior Iron Chef a couple of years ago in response to what do we do with the parents and the cheerleading teams and the fans that come to support the students that are hard at work. And it's a long day if you're just sitting waiting for results. We've always had the ability to, or that we haven't had the ability, the television students have been able to figure out how to wire up this school so that the folks in the cafeteria can watch what's going on. But now we're giving them a real day's entertainment and bringing other people in so that they may come to see the food show and then find out there's a junior Iron Chef competition going on as well.